Protests against President-elect Donald Trump continued last week in some of the nation's largest cities and on dozens of college campuses. Many of the protesters worry there will be tough immigration action under Trump. In his first big interview after winning, Trump talked of deporting 2 to 3 million illegal immigrants, he said, have committed crimes. How is the Latino community reacting to Trump's election? We're asking Daryl Maureen of LULAC in Milwaukee, the League of United Latin American Citizens. Thanks very much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning, Mike.
I thought we'd begin by talking about your background. You are a Republican, correct?
Well, truth be told, yes, I am. And I'm a big believer, though, in who's best for the job. But I do believe with the core initial founding principles of the Republican Party, and yes, I am a registered Republican. Well,
let's talk about your perspective and the Latino community's perspective on some of what's happened in this campaign and since. This talk about deportation, 2 to 3 million undocumented people in this country. What's been the reaction in the Latino community?
Well, let me start by saying that since his entrance into the primary as a presidential candidate, President-elect Trump has really created great fear within our community and also created great hostility against it as well. And we're seeing that all over the country and even here in Wisconsin. But there is just fear that we're going to return to the days of old. I think the Latino community understands there's going to be a certain percentage of people who've been guilty of committing violent crimes, of selling drugs, those types of things. But I think the 2 to 3 million number is very high and wouldn't be acceptable to the community.
When you talk about fears within the Latino community, specifically, what do people fear? That their families are going to be broken apart? What is it?
So, and that is it precisely. So we know we have less than 3% of the United States population is undocumented. Half of those came here and have overstayed their visa, right? So let's get that on the board from all over the world. But from the Hispanic community, yes, that does mean families being torn apart. And that means families that have been here, children who've grown up here, known this as their only country, being torn apart from their parents, et cetera. But there's also a second dynamic here. So people, it's not so easy to distinguish who's undocumented and who is documented. So we see day in and day out biases applied towards one, equally applied to both. And even if you go to a grocery store, sadly enough, you might see people choose to, wait in that line that's a little bit longer, rather than standing next to those people who might be speaking Spanish or have prominent Hispanic features. So it's something that we face in everyday life.
One of the things that Donald Trump said in this interview with 60 Minutes was that there are these 2 to 3 million people we would remove from the country right away, but then we would revisit the issue. And there's that uncertainty about the remainder of people in this country. How much of a concern is that for you and for people in the Latino community?
It's a major concern. I'm hopeful, and I'm cautiously hopeful, that Donald Trump, the president, distances himself greatly from Donald Trump, the candidate, and comes back to a more realistic approach towards immigration reform. We understand the need, and we support, building up and defending our borders, et cetera. No question there. We understand the need to get to deport those who have conducted crimes in our country, et cetera. But we also think there needs to be a pathway for those who, but for the exception of that one piece of paper, have been everything that we should expect out of our citizens, that they be given a pathway that they can earn over a period of time to adjust their status and stay here legally.
You mentioned at the beginning of this interview that you're concerned about some of what we've seen in the course of the campaign, but since the election of Donald Trump. What specifically are you referring to?
Well, I can tell you that the day following the election, we started to receive a substantial number of calls from concerned parents and friends of those who've been affected. A lot of bullying, taunting, and threats have been actually taking place, not only here in Milwaukee, but all over Wisconsin and, in fact, the country. The Southern Poverty Law Center, a recognized entity by both parties, right, has found that literally hundreds of rather fearful acts of hate have occurred around the country since the election day. So it's a huge concern, not only for our community, but for the Black community, the Jewish community, Asian, Muslim community, et cetera.
Give me how this feels to you personally, given your background. How does this feel to you as an American citizen, as a business person, as a Republican?
Well, it's concerning. We believe, I think the majority of America believes, that everybody is born with a right of human dignity. And when you are talked down to, when you are threatened, simply because of the beliefs that we cherish here as a right to have, whether it be our religion, the belief in the right to be treated equally under the law regardless of your religion, but religion you practice, the color of your skin, etc. We should all be concerned when that comes into question.
Darrell Marine is the local president of LULAC. It's good to have you on the program today. Thanks very much for being with us.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Next, the digital divide right here in Wisconsin.